The best Oculus Quest 2 games have the power to transport you to a different world in the most literal sense possible today. Although this video is specific to the Oculus Quest 2, some games can also be played on the Quest 3. That being said, come with me for the first game in the video. If you want the most accurate, authentic representation of a sport in VR today, 11. Table tennis is your best bet. This simulation-level game offers the most convincing take on a sport that makes perfect sense in VR. Whether you're serving up hotshots or getting in returns, 11's physics behave how you'd expect. Tapping the ball with your controller starts to feel as natural as if it were a paddle. More than just a great game, 11 is one of the rare VR experiences that feels like a genuine replacement for our reality. It used to be placed much higher on this list, but it's fallen down a few rankings given a lack of updates, a now outdated UI and promised content updates remaining MIA. Dreamy, a bit surreal, tactical, randomly generated, the Light Brigade is everything I like in a VR experience. Much like in Unchained, which is archery-based, the Light Brigade keeps changing every time you play. The minimal interface and design keep it feeling mysterious and yet clear to understand. I can't survive for very long, but I want to play more. While Moss and Moss, Book 2 are separate games, we've included them as one entry on this list as they flow into each other. Book 2 picks up the story moments after the end of Book 1. Moss helped prove that third-person VR experiences can make for some of the absolute best content out on the platform right now. You guide an adorable little mouse named Quill through diorama-sized levels, solving puzzles and taking on fearsome critters in sword-based combat. While it's mechanically refined, Moss' real claim to fame is the bond you build with Quill over the course of the adventure. Playing as a larger companion to the tiny protagonist, you really start to connect with her as you work together to overcome obstacles. It feels very much like a team effort, which is quite a remarkable feeling in itself. The second installment, Moss, Book 2, is technically a stronger, longer sequel, but realistically feels more like a continuation of the same journey as opposed to a completely fresh adventure. That being said, it does add some new mechanics that innovates on the original's The Combat, as well as offering a wider range of environment and vistas than the first title. The Moss series is not one to miss. A highlight in the zombie-centric series, Resident Evil 4 is not just one of the best games you can play on the Meta Quest 2. In fact, it's arguably the best reason to buy a Meta Quest 2. While it won't blow you away on the visuals front, simply playing the game in virtual reality offers a degree of immersion that's difficult to get anywhere else. And with motion controls and tracking, Resident Evil 4 VR offers a fresher way to play the game and works surprisingly well for a game that's been adapted to fit VR rather than built for it. So if you want a fresh way to play Resident Evil 4, look no further than its Oculus Quest 2 version. Red Matter 2 is a great sci-fi adventure and one of the most impressive visual showcases available on Quest 2. After producing a similarly stunning experience with the original Red Matter, developers Vertical Robot doubled down on creating a compelling and gorgeous sci-fi game with this sequel. The gameplay is fairly slow, focused on environmental puzzles and occasional combat. It doesn't always land, some of the puzzles begin to frustrate, especially toward the end, but some beautiful sci-fi vistas and environments supplement any occasional hiccups in gameplay and pacing. An endless and randomly generated set of castle enemies meets you every time you play, and this roguelike game uses a bow and arrow as your only method of navigation and attack. The mechanics feel great, and being surrounded by enemies or firing arrows can be incredibly intense. Set in the universe of Paradox Interactive's strategy game Stellaris, this VR roguelite spin-off from fast travel games sees you command a spaceship from the third person through diorama-style levels. You'll fight enemies, encounter hostile and friendly creatures, and investigate planets, all while collecting EXP and scraps to upgrade your ship for current and successive runs. For fans of roguelites, Ghost Signal is easily the best entry in the genre on Quest. Even though it's now past its 10-year anniversary, The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim is still very much a game you should try in virtual reality. You'll need to connect the Meta Quest 2 to a gaming PC or laptop, albeit not a hugely powerful one given the game's age, and it's not superbly optimized for cutting-edge VR use. However, Skyrim VR basically lets you step into a virtual country with a fantasy and Nordic flavor. While Skyrim is available on all manner of platforms, VR is arguably one of the newer and more interesting ways to experience the stellar open-world game. It also mixes up the playstyle of the game, with realistic controls letting you slash away at draugrs and dragons by actually swinging your arm. And even with dated graphics by 2021 standards, there are still moments where Skyrim's art style and lighting present you with some beautiful vistas, perfect escapism from the rigors of real life. There is also mod support through the Steam Workshop, which adds yet another arrow into Skyrim's brimming quiver. In the aftermath of the pandemic, 2022 was a slower year for big VR releases. However, this meant that many smaller indie releases had a chance to shine, such as What the Bat, our 2022 VR Game of the Year. In What the Bat, your hands are transformed into baseball bats and you'll work through a series of endlessly creative, short puzzle scenarios. Across the wacky campaign, you'll use your bats to do almost anything, except play an actual baseball game. The game begs to be shown to family and friends. It's the perfect title to pass around the room and give people a taste of what VR can offer. That being said, its hilarious charm and deceptive complexity mean that even veteran VR players will find something to enjoy. Half-Life: Alyx may not technically be a native MetaQuest game, but thanks to the Quest 2's ability to plug into a PC with the Quest Link cable, you can play it on your Quest 2. And since it's arguably the best VR game ever made, I had to vault it to the top of this list. It comes free with Quest 3 purchases, but anyone else should snap up this epic, beautiful and massive game for their own collection. The Egyptian-themed game, full of gods and beasts, has a mix of puzzles and combat and a lot of secrets to discover. While its price is high, there's a ton to do, with cinematic worlds and puzzles and a roguelike mode that randomly generates battles in case you somehow finish the dozens of hours main story. The graphics aren't quite as good as the PC-only first game in the series, but few Quest 2 or Quest 3 games have looked better. Among Us VR brings the viral flat-screen sensation into VR on Quest 2, translating the original game brilliantly. It adds new depth to the experience, featuring top-tier VR design, and the added immersion of experiencing this social whodunit in virtual reality means that it offers something familiar yet original compared to the flat-screen release. It also features cross-platform multiplayer support, so you can play alongside your friends on PC VR, Pico, PSVR 2. Mix the challenging combat of Dark Souls with a roguelike, and you'll get Until You Fall. With a satisfying gameplay loop, neon aesthetic and a banging synthwave soundtrack, this is the VR game we had no idea we needed. Equipped with dual-wielding weapons, sword, mace or knife, you'll strike, dodge and counter enemies to best them in battle. Sadly, a majority of your time will be spent falling in battle. Each time you die provides you with new insight and upgrades. Ranging from maximum health to damage buffs, these upgrades can turn the tides of battle in your favor. Akin to playing one last round in the Civilization series, each successful run makes it difficult to put the game down. Difficult boss fights will undoubtedly drive you mad. Coming better prepared to a fight with improved gear and prevailing, however, is pure ecstasy. If you love the sweet torture of Soulsborne games, you'll be playing Until You Fall. Ever dreamed of being Iron Man? This game will have you hovering around in a jetpack, using your hands to aim and blast through a series of missions that are surprisingly kinetic and fun. Iron Man was originally a game on the PlayStation VR, but the move to Quest 2 is far more fun because there are no wires to worry about getting tangled in. One of the best releases this year on Quest, Outta Hand takes Gorilla Tag's physical, gesture-based movement system and evolves it with new mechanics and a stretchier feel into something truly sublime. Not only is the combination of thrilling platforming and combat really satisfying, but it's paired with an engaging, no-frills narrative, witty dialogue and beautiful environments. If you're looking for a short but sweet VR platforming campaign, then this Crash Bandicoot-inspired title is one you can't miss. If you threw Guitar Hero, Dance Dance Revolution, and just a sprinkle of Star Wars into a blender, you'd get Beat Saber. In this game, you match the color of your saber to slash color corresponding blocks at the correct angle. In addition to increasing speed, there are hazards such as bombs and walls that you must physically dodge. The result is a full-body workout with a pulse-thumping EDM soundtrack. It's an entrancing experience that could only succeed in virtual reality. An extensive single-player career mode will challenge you for hours with increasingly specific requirements needed to beat the campaign. Free play lets you pick any song to jam out to with toggleable modifiers to support or challenge you. A novice player might turn on a bonus multiplier helper, while a suddies, expert ups the challenge by limiting their game to a single mistake before failure. Recently, Beat Saber added a multiplayer update so you can compete head-to-head against friends to see who the most skillful swordsman is within your friend group. Arizona Sunshine 2 is a fantastic VR campaign featuring pitch-perfect writing, acting, pacing, and outstanding action. It's everything you hope for in a sequel, taking everything that worked in the original and refining it to near perfection. This time, you'll be joined on your adventure by K9 companion Buddy, who you'll use for crowd control during intense action sequences and develop a relationship with across the course of the campaign. This follow-up to one of VR's seminal early hits reanimates the zombie genre and brings with it some of the most engaging and accessible arcade violence we've seen in VR. Plus, the entire campaign is playable in two-player co-op, just like the first game. Whether you're looking to dismember some zombies alone or with friends, Arizona Sunshine 2 is a great pick. Beyond running at an increased resolution on the newer headset, the game will look identical on Quest 2 as it does on Quest 3. My overall favorite VR game just might be mini golf. Walkabout's multiple golf courses are brilliantly designed, with extra hard challenge modes and hidden golf balls to collect. The game's golf physics are perfect. The multiplayer modes are great for having friends join in online. Several increasingly good courses keep arriving as DLC, from one based on Jim Henson's Labyrinth to a series of Jules Verne courses. Every time a new course comes out, I get excited. Seriously, you have no idea how good VR mini golf is, and the Meow Wolf course is absolutely wonderful. If you're looking for a fantasy action RPG that you can play with a group of friends, Dungeons of Eternity is the obvious pick. This first-person immersive experience feels significantly polished across all Quest headsets, allowing you and your friends to explore a variety of hack-and-slash combat options while clearing rooms in true dungeon crawler style. Dungeons of Eternity caters to many styles of play, pairing a rewarding progression system with endless randomly generated dungeons. For an immersive first-person dungeon crawler, there's no better pick. Sometimes you need a break from the virtual violence. That's where Crytek's VR game The Climb comes in. The developer that gave us Far Cry and Crysis created a stellar free climbing simulator that trades in the pews of firearms for audible oh wows from its players. Realistically rendered environments courtesy of CryEngine gives you the thrill of hanging off cliffs from the Alps to the American Southwest. All of the game's courses provide a steep challenge and require the use of proper gripping techniques. There are multiple paths around each ascent for you to explore with different views of vistas and valleys as a reward. Successfully completing a climb allows you to rank up and purchase new gear. Failed runs are awarded fear-inducing plunges instead. The climb is a breathtaking experience both visually and physically. If you're looking for a physically challenging escape from the dreariness of the real world, chalk your hands up and grab on tight to The Climb. There was a lot of understandable doubt about whether the Assassin's Creed franchise could survive the transition to VR and come out better on the other end. However, Nexus proves that Assassin's Creed can absolutely work in VR and manages to stand proud with the main series. It presents players with a 20-hour campaign that leaves you wanting more, demonstrating what a fully-fledged VR entry can do for a big franchise. Adapting the stealth, parkour, and combat of the series into a new immersive format works wonders. Nexus is the most fun we've had with the Assassin's Creed franchise yet. It's worth noting that, compared to Quest 3, Assassin's Creed Nexus does feature a notable resolution drop when playing on Quest 2, hence why it's ranked a little lower here than on our Quest 3 list. SUPERHOT VR may honestly be my favorite Meta Quest 2 game, even if I'll readily concede that Half-Life, Alyx is better. The game makes you feel like you're Keanu Reeves in The Matrix thanks to its core mechanic of time only really moving when you move. You stay still, time stands still. You move fast, time moves fast. It's incredibly well executed and adds a bit of a puzzle element to the action. The game also smartly abandons high graphic fidelity for polygonal shapes that explode and shatter when you hit them, which produces some satisfying results. So if you want to shoot an enemy, grab their gun as it's flying through the air, use that to shoot another enemy, and then throw the gun at a third bad guy, then SUPERHOT is the game for you. I Eye of the Temple is one of the best examples of a game designed from the ground up for VR. It's a triumphant room-scale platformer on Quest. In this Indiana Jones-inspired adventure, you'll begin outside a large temple with a whip in one hand and torch in the other. Work your way deeper into the temple by completing puzzles and navigating platforming obstacles along the way. The genius part of Eye of the Temple is that the room-scale approach means almost all movement is real around your play space. Some clever design tricks ensure you never have to worry about walking out of your play space or into your Guardian, which also makes it a great experience for those who are starting out with VR. Be warned though, you'll need a decent amount of space. Eye of the Temple requires a minimum play area of at least 2m x 2m. The multiplayer battle royale experience of Population 1 is very Fortnite-like. In fact, it's extremely Fortnite-like. That's a good thing. There are few large-scale multiplayer VR games right now, and this is one of the best. Dropping down from above, navigating the shrinking map, climbing and hunting for supplies and excellent controls make this a must-play team shooter. Plus, there are frequent season updates. Continual updates and new content has cemented Pistol Whip as one of the best, most stylish arcade rhythm VR games around. Its sharpshooting, sharp-sounding, beat-based gameplay proves even more hypnotic than Beat Saber, and in our 2023 review update, we proclaim Pistol Whip is better than ever. In this neon-lit shooter, you stream down corridors, blasting bad guys to grisly tunes, avoiding incoming fire and trying to rack up the best scores by firing on beat. Whereas Beat Saber wants to make you a dancing Jedi Master, Pistol Whip aims to teach you John Wick-esque gun fu with style, elegantly fusing the rhythmic and cinematic together into a pulsating, vibrant monster of its own. Since launch, Cloudhead Games have continually supported Pistol Whip with more content, new features and extra tracks, making it one of the most entertaining and comprehensive arcade titles available on Quest. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners is the Quest's first AAA single-player game. This Herculean effort combines a lengthy campaign, satisfying physics, and realistic environments for an immersive horror experience. You'll sneak, shoot, and scavenge your way through a zombie-filled New Orleans with every major choice you make resulting in equally hefty consequences. An advanced crafting system allows you to construct makeshift gear with a believable weight and scale. Just like in real life, you'll have to properly grip these weapons that are prone to breaking with extended use. Between degrading weapons and a restrictive stamina system, you have to decide on the best path to complete objectives. Stealthy approaches may make things more difficult as a mission plays out. On the other hand, rolling up to encounters with guns blazing often leaves you weaponless against a horde of the undead. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners strikes a balance of immersion and entertainment desperately missing from the Quest store right now. Next to the PC-exclusive Half-Life, Alyx, this is the best AAA VR campaign around. Demeo isn't a perfect tabletop game by any means, but it is a really good one and, more importantly, its first-rate 4-player multiplayer VR experience makes it feel like a genuine social event in a way that no flat-screen game, and even few VR games, have ever really matched. You pick a class and tackle randomly generated dungeons, but the game's punishing difficulty means sessions can last anywhere from a few minutes to multiple hours. Demeo instantly cemented itself as one of the best Quest games that's only gotten better with post-launch updates. Free updates have provided new campaigns to play through, like Reign of Madness, Curse of the Serpent Lord, and more. It's a must-have for any Quest 2 owner. So, did you like the games I recommended? So leave your like, subscribe to the channel to follow me, and activate the bell because I post a lot of videos on this channel and you can't miss it. I would like to remind you that in the description we have a list of different products that can make your gaming experience much better. If you want to buy, the link will be in the description. Anyway, thank you very much for following me this far, and until next time, bye.